Early in the morning on January 25, the celebrity solstice reached the Otago Harbour, the natural harbour of Dunedin, consisting of a long, much-indented stretch of generally navigable water separating the Otago Peninsula from the mainland. I managed to capture video clips of the celebrity solstice maneuvering her way into the Otago Harbour with the help of the pilot boat on her way to Port Chalmers. The Otago Harbour is home to Dunedin's deep-water port facilities on its western shores in the suburb of Port Chalmers. Occupying a prominent position overlooking the container terminal, Iona Church is a distinctive feature of the Port Chalmers landscape. The Iona Church is more than 100 years old and is now a union parish serving Port Chalmers Presbyterian, Methodist, and Congregational churches. The town clock was installed in the tower in 1885. Baldwin Street in Dunedin is the world's steepest residential street, according to the Guinness Book of World Records. Baldwin Street rises from 30 meters above sea level at its junction with North Road to 100 meters above sea level at the top. During Speights Brewery tour, we first learned about the history of cooperage as we walked through a room displaying a cooper's workshop as it existed in Dunedin back in the early 1800s.
Than to stand in the bar of a pub with no beer. Were the publicans anxious for the quota to come?
The wooden cask was the only accepted method for the storage and transport of beer until the late 1950s, when metal casks were introduced.
Is a pub with no beer.
Then we learned about the antiquity of beer in Babylonian times, through to the introduction of beer in New Zealand, and then the history of Speights Brewery, before we enter the brewery itself to learn about the unique brewing process and how Speights became a legend in the South. Saxon nobles, whose hospitality is legendary, sought and made peace with the plundering Danish invaders at meetings at which both Saxon and Dane, mutually fond of beer, drank in cheerful fellowship and resolved to live side by side.
With no beer. Now there's a dog on the veranda, for his master he waits, but the boss is inside, drinking wine with his mates. He hurries for cover and he cringes in fear. It's no place for a dog round a pub with no beer.
Captain James Cook, on his second visit to New Zealand, made landfall at Dusky Bay, which he entered on March 26, 1773. There he took immediate steps to restore the health of the Resolution's crew by gathering a rich harvest of fish and wild fowl, and by establishing a brewery.
With his mates, he hurries for cover and he cringes in fear. It's no place for a dog round a pub with no beer. And old Billy the blacksmith, first time in his life, has gone home cold sober to his darling wife. He walks in the kitchen, she says, "You're early, my dear." Then he breaks down and tells her the pub's got no beer. Oh, it's hard to believe that there's customers still, but the money's still tinkling in the old ancient till. The Wyandottes are happy, and I know they're sincere when they say they don't care if the pub's got no beer. Well, it's a lonesome away from your kindred and all, by the campfire at night where the wild dingoes call. But there's nothing so lonesome, morbid or drear, than to stand in the bar of a pub with no beer.
On the tour, we were able to see, smell, touch, and taste the ingredients that go into making Speights beers.
Even if you end up with Guinness, you're still going to have this lighter malt as your base. Then if you want to get exciting, you can add a darker roast. So a lot of people say that it smells like chocolate or like coffee. It's a lot more bitter. And if you want to taste the if you want to taste the barley, you can feel the flavour coming through the 5 malt dark ale downstairs as well, which is quite nice.
Then the swaggy comes in, covered in dust and flies. He throws down his roll and wipes the sweat from his eyes. But when he is told, he says, "What's this I hear? I've trudged 50 flaming miles to a pub with no beer." Now there's a dog on the veranda, for his master he waits, but the boss is inside, drinking wine with his mates. He hurries for cover and he cringes in fear. It's no place for a dog round a pub with no beer. And old Billy the blacksmith, first time in his life, has gone home cold sober to his darling wife. He walks in the kitchen, she says, "You're early, my dear." Then he breaks down and tells her the pub's got no beer.
No tour would be complete without sampling the fine product. We were welcomed to the brewery bar, where we enjoyed an appreciation session of 6 Speights beers.
The Wyandottes are happy, and I know they're sincere when they say they don't care if the pub's got no beer. Well, it's a lonesome away from your
This tab offers free filtered water for the community.
wild dingoes call. But there's nothing.
After the tour, we drove past the Speights Ale House, situated next to the brewery. Dunedin is slowly gaining a reputation for its murals in locations that have been prone to graffiti damage, and Riding the Dreams by Pixel Pancho is one of them. This mural, depicting a mechanical horse and rider, provides a marvelous image for those traveling south through the city like we were. The next mural in sight was the Songbird Pipe Organ by Flem. Here, Flem's wistful, if sinister, keyboardist pumps out a kaleidoscope of birds across the city. The ride along the downtown area allowed us to enjoy the sights of heritage buildings and monuments. A dome on an ornamental drum crowned the corner section of the Hayes building. The facade also features round-headed windows with prominent keystones, and a carved entablature crowns the second story. The building is beautifully proportioned to suit a corner site. In the background, the imposing railway station building. First Church of Otago is a prominent church located in the heart of the city on Moray Place, 100 meters to the south of the city center. The church is the city's primary Presbyterian church. The building is regarded as the most impressive of New Zealand's 19th century churches. The layout of the interior is typical of Presbyterian churches of the 19th century. The pulpit was originally a slender third of its present size, but was enlarged in keeping with the preacher's taste early this century. The dove of peace is clearly visible beneath the pulpit reading desk. Organ music was not acceptable when the church was opened. The pipe organ installed in 1908 was modified twice, in the 1930s and 1960s. An Allen digital organ was installed in 1982. The rose window high above the pulpit is so named because of its circular shape and because the radiating strips of lead resemble petals. The Soldiers' Memorial window was unveiled in 1923. It is divided into 4 subjects. Top left, a Christian knight arming for battle with the 3 graces in attendance. Top right, Christ holding a crown of victory. On the left is a guardian angel, and on the right, 2 New Zealand soldiers. Lower left, Roman soldiers beating their swords into plowshares. Lower right, the shepherds receiving the message of peace. The gallery was added after the church was opened. A motif combining thistle, rose, and shamrock is carved along the face of the gallery. Burns Hall to the right of the church was built in 1908 and renovated in 1991. Then we made it to the Octagon, an 8-sided plaza that is the center of Dunedin. Several of Dunedin's significant buildings and institutions adjoin the plaza. First laid out in 1846, the Octagon was substantially renovated during the 1980s and is now a center of the city's cafe culture with many alfresco dining areas. Completed in 1880 and designed by R.A. Lawson in 1878, the chambers have been altered throughout its standing, including the removal and replacement in 1919 of the building's front steps and its bell tower in 1963. The chambers set the scene for incorporating New Zealand's first city council and is home to Norma, an original symphonic pipe organ built in 1919 that is still operational. The building also contains the Dunedin Town Hall, which reopened in April 2013. The 1877 statue of Scottish poet Robert Burns stands on the Macmillan Terrace, a vantage point over the Octagon. St. Paul's Cathedral, located at the top of the Octagon, was completed in 1919. The Cargill Monument is a prominent feature of the Young Wycliffe Plaza. The monument was erected in 1864. To the left is the historic former Bank of New Zealand building. In view now, the Central Fire Station. The Law Courts building facing the Anzac Square opened in 1902. Built in decorative but stern Victorian Gothic style, they are located alongside the former Dunedin Central Police Station. Anzac Square, which despite its name is roughly triangular in shape, was extensively remodeled and extended in the 1990s to create a formal knot garden. Dunedin railway station, designed by George Troop, is the city's fourth station. It earned its architect the nickname of Gingerbread George. In an eclectic, revived Flemish Renaissance style, the station is constructed of dark basalt with lighter stone facings. Pink granite was used for a series of supporting pillars which line a colonnade at the front. The southern end is dominated by the 37-meter clock tower, visible from much of central Dunedin. The roof was tiled in terracotta shingles from Marseille, surmounted by copper-domed cupolas. The booking hall features a mosaic floor of almost 750,000 Minton tiles. A frieze of Royal Doulton porcelain runs around the balcony above it. The Toitū Otago Settlers Museum is a regional history museum that covers the territory of the old Otago province. It is New Zealand's oldest and most extensive history museum. It is located in the heart of the city, close to the Dunedin railway station and some 500 meters from the Octagon. The new entrance wing to the gallery abuts the northern end of the old complex. On the way back to Port Chalmers, we drove by yet another very steep street. Once again, in spite of the intermittent rain, we were able to capture pictures and video clips of some of Dunedin's heritage buildings, monuments and parks. The celebrity solstice was on the move again, this time towards dusky sounds. After dinner we went to the Solstice Theatre to enjoy Australian pianist Kim Perling, who had performed in over 85 countries and had had an incredible and diverse international career spanning 20 years.